Hello and welcome to Exodus Awake. I am your host, Jonathan. I hope that you all have been doing very well the last little while. As you can probably tell from the night there, it's late for me. Hopefully not that late for you. Anyway, today we're going to talk about Watchtower and their need for cash. But first, let's run the old introduction. Unless you've been living under a rock for the last little while, you may have noticed that prices have been going steadily up, and things are much more difficult to afford. When I go to the gas station at night and I need a drink because I'm thirsty, and I see, a pop is like $3 now at a convenience store or a gas station, makes me think twice.
Look, do you have any more change? I ran out. Yes. $6. Jesus, this place.
It's just freaking expensive. I've got a rather large family at home, and let me tell you, they eat a lot, so that adds up. I do okay as far as managing, life expenses and things, but I feel bad for the average Jehovah's Witness because, well, they're not exactly rolling in the dough. There might be some that are well off, but most of them are not doing so hot as far as average income levels. I looked it up just the other day, and I'll put that right here, that in the United States, the average family income is around, I think it was, without looking at it, but you'll see it, around $66,000 per year. And I looked up how much the average Jehovah's Witness is making, and it's about 23,000, something like that, 22,000, 23,000 per year. So like a third. Not great. Most Jehovah's Witnesses, I'd say, well, okay, maybe not most, I don't know, I have nothing to back that up, but a lot of them are cleaning. They're washing windows, they're cleaning offices, they're cleaning houses. They might have a basic trade, some sort of construction thing, but you're not going to find too many well-educated Jehovah's Witnesses simply because it's discouraged to do that. As I probably have covered at some point, they don't want you to go to university. They don't want you to go to college because, the end is coming and you need to spend lots of time doing spiritual stuff, but also they don't want you to get in contact with free-thinking, students and teachers at these various schools. So they don't want you to get that education. They want you to just, hurry up and get into the job market after you leave high school, and don't worry about higher education because higher education is the devil.
School? You going to school? Ah! Sorry, Mama, I wanted to tell you. You all galloping with your fancy foosball friends at school while I'm sitting here all day with nobody to keep me company? Is that Steve? The chickens are coming home to roost, Bobby Boucher. You reap the fruit of your selfish ways. You gonna lose all your fancy foosball games, and you're gonna fail your big exam because school is the devil. Everything is the devil to you, Mama.
Yeah, so you take the economy as it is now, because of, 2.5 years of lockdowns and layoffs and, increasing prices because of that. coupled with the hostility, the war that's going on in Ukraine. And what do you got? You got a world economy that's in the toilet right now. And everything has gone up. Inflation is through the roof in a lot of places. Fuel is ridiculous. I look back to the old days when I was younger and, where you could get a gallon of gas for 89 cents or something. Mind you, income was lower, but your buck went a lot farther than it does these days. So that's kind of how it is. Gas is real expensive. Where I live, it's sold by the liter, not by the gallon. And the average price right now is about $2.10-ish per liter. So you figure that out. That's really expensive. Yeah. And I live 30 minutes from a lot of my work. So that's a lot of driving. It's a lot of gasoline. Anyway. So everything's expensive, yeah? Now you think about the governing body. Where does their money come from? Donations to the Worldwide Work, which is pretty much all members of congregations that are guilted into, are motivated to motivated to give, to support the work. But as we just were saying, they don't have a whole lot of money. And you've only got so much to go around. I mean, if you were living check to check before, how are you living now? So do you have a whole lot of extra income to throw into a box or to, e-transfer, or whatever you do these days to pay for the worldwide work? You're going to be struggling, I'm sure. So I suspect that there are going to be a lot more talks coming where they're going to emphasize how important it is that I'm not included, but thankfully, how Jehovah's Witnesses need to show their devotion to Jehovah and their willingness to give their valuable things to Jehovah, aka to themselves, the governing body, to the organization. There's going to be a lot more of that.
Jehovah's people are generous and want to give. Doing so with the spirit mentioned at 2 Corinthians 9:7, let each one do just as he has resolved in his heart, not grudgingly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. One of many ways we can display this generous spirit is through our financial donations. We are familiar with placing a contribution in the boxes labeled Contributions for the Worldwide Work at our local Kingdom Hall. Recently, the organization has made some changes to allow for donating online. Some have had questions on how to use these new tools. The donation information page on jw.org can be accessed via the JW Library app or on the website. By selecting the country where you live, you can see the donation methods available to you. Different types of donation methods are available in different countries. How have some been able to put this tool to use? In many countries, we can give using a credit or some debit cards via jw.org. Anyone can make donations online by creating an account if they don't already have one. This makes donating simpler both for you and for the organization. Just as many of us already follow the scriptural pattern at 1 Corinthians 16:2, set something aside every week according to our own means, we can do the same with these online tools. You can set up recurring donations so that this is done automatically every month.
My biggest challenge in making donations was remembering to put the donation in the box. But one day I was on the JW website and saw that there was a way to make online donations. And what was even better was that I could program an automatic donation of the same amount every month. So every month I receive a receipt that my donation has gone through. And that makes me very happy because I can help Jehovah every month. And this way, it's easy.
Or perhaps we'd rather have our donation transferred electronically right from our bank account. In some countries, a bank account is provided that will allow you to transfer funds directly to the branch office. Simply use the tools provided by your bank to set up a direct donation to this account. We can easily go to the jw.org website and use the donations page to donate online directly from our account, just as we would make any other money transfers. Some prefer to contribute by check or money order. The details on where to mail this type of donation can also be found on jw.org.
Well, each month when I watch JW Broadcasting and see all the things that are going around over the earth, I like to show them my appreciation for this hard work that the brothers do. And now the way I can do that, since I'm no longer able to do much physically, is by writing them a check and this letter of appreciation.
Other methods of donating might involve charitable planning. We could arrange to give assets at our death through a will, trust, life insurance policy, or retirement plan. During our life or at our death, we could also donate certificates of deposit, stocks and bonds, as well as saleable real estate.
We are living in the days when unexpected events take place, just as the Bible foretold. So we decided to make charitable plans so that our material assets can be used to advance Jehovah's work.
Every worthwhile thing we have also comes from Jehovah. I feel privileged to return to Jehovah what I originally received from him.
And I think this deep joy in my heart is the very blessing that I receive from Jehovah.
There are many forms of giving. Go to the donation information page to see what options are available in your country. However, some types of donations typically require planning or additional information. If you have any questions, you can check with your local branch office. Feel free to submit a request for more information, and your local branch office will respond by email within a few days. Or you can call the branch directly using the phone number provided. But what if we wish to continue giving in the ways we have been, or we don't understand how to use these new tools? New tools can be hard to understand at first. But asking for the help of a trusted brother or sister in the congregation can help us take advantage of these tools. Exodus 35:5 and 21 says, "Take up a contribution for Jehovah from among yourselves. Let everyone with a willing heart bring a contribution for Jehovah, gold, silver, copper." Then everyone whose heart impelled him, and everyone whose spirit incited him, came and brought their contribution for Jehovah. Just as the Israelites knew what options they had in giving to Jehovah, we want to know the different ways that we can make donations and the tools we can use to do so. Please take time to review these options on the donation information page and use the methods and tools that are best for you. No matter how we choose to donate, we can be confident that just as in the days of Moses, the donations we make support pure worship. And whether we are giving of our time, our energy, or our resources, we know that Jehovah loves a cheerful giver.
I suspect there's going to be a lot more articles. There's going to be a lot more talks. It's going to be in the literature, such as it is. Speaking of the literature, it's been reduced so much. When you think about it, it was very common back in the 1800s for people to produce a lot of literature. These new religious movements. That's how you did it. You didn't have the internet back then, so books, magazines, that sort of thing. And you get it out there, and people were paying for it and getting money back from people in at their homes, so that they could pay for it, and money going to the organization. And then it kind of went the way of newspapers. I mean, newspapers still exist, but if you go to the supermarket, you don't find a whole lot of newspapers, and they're real skinny compared to what they used to be. So, what do you got now? You got online versions of all these different newspapers, because that's the only way they can survive. Well, the only way that this publishing company of religious doctrine is going to survive, or has been surviving, is because they got online. They made website, and they made electronic versions of things that you can create a document, and boom, there it is. People can share it. It doesn't cost them anything, as opposed to the millions of junk copies of Watchtowers and Awakes that are probably collectively in in the homes of Jehovah's Witnesses, at least the older ones. I remember thick stacks of stuff that I didn't place. So that all costs money, right? So yeah, they had to go electronic in order to survive. So they cut down expenses that way. So you'd think they don't have to spend money on all this, printing. Where's their money going now? Lawsuits. Lots and lots of lawsuits. Because, of course, they're covering up a lot of crime when it comes to SA and CSA. Goes to trial. Or rather, they avoided going to trial. So they, we'll pay the victims. Just don't put it in the courts where people are going to see this sort of thing. Because they don't want people to know about it, right? So that's a lot of expense right there. Millions and millions of dollars annually that are going to pay for victims of these crimes. So you've got that. Plus, they decided they wanted to build this giant, movie production facility. Why? They obviously are able to do that stuff now, or it wouldn't exist. So why do they need to build this whole giant complex? Somewhere. So I don't know where I saw it, so I can't give proper credit for it. So I apologize to the person that actually, reported this. But somewhere I saw that they purchased some land and they basically ran out the clock to be able to give it back because there was some sort of a stipulation that they could give it back if they didn't use it or something. Some sort of, way to take care of this. And then, whoops, they forgot to do that. And then they had this giant plot of land, like some 250 acres or something. And they didn't know what to do with it. So what are you going to do with this land? Just spend, millions of dollars in this plot of land and let it sit there and go to seed? They got to use it. So movie production facility, why not? Because they can use that into the new system.
Just something to address the feelings that some have. And these are beautiful friends, different ones worshiping Jehovah for many decades. And we're only human. And it's the truth, but we're only human. So one brother wrote and appreciated his sincerity, and he said, during the annual meeting of 2019, the Ramapo project was announced. And if I remember right, it was stated that the project would be complete in a few years. With recent Watchtower articles telling us that we are in the last of the last days, beautiful expression, but words are powerful. It seemed a little disappointing that this may push Armageddon off a few years. This was his sincere concern, really. And he's not alone. They're only human. Well, how should we respond? Brother writes that in. Well, remember, Jehovah's a God of comfort. You want to go direct, it's what we addressed there with what Jesus told us. But how can we comfort him, too? Rather, bring the truth as it is and be straight with it. But the governing body wants all of you to know, including those that'll see it later, that we are determined to remain active and to faithfully deliver spiritual food at the right time. We are also looking beyond the last days. You're getting that message. Let me expound on that thought. Looking beyond the last days. And this is a quote from the Proclaimer's book, and I treasured it when the book came out And a lot of work went into that publication. But there, referring to God's people, it stated, there's a lot of international construction going on at the time, too, if you were in the truth then. Quoting it now, with the help of Jehovah's Spirit, they, God's people, want to give the greatest witness possible during the time that remains before Armageddon. They are convinced that God's new world is very close at hand, and they have faith that they will survive as an organized people into the new world under the rule of God's messianic kingdom. Now, please note the rest of this quote. It is also their hope that perhaps, keyword, many of the fine facilities that they have built and dedicated to Jehovah will continue to be used after Armageddon as centers from which knowledge of the only true God can be diffused until it truly fills the earth, end quote. Beautiful thought. Right there. Still valid. So, in harmony with what the faithful slave said then, the faithful slave now says many of the projects that are being worked on now, like Ramapo and the Good News According to Jesus video series, may, or perhaps, will carry over into the new world to assist the great crowd with the work ahead, and perhaps including resurrected ones. That's comforting. That's just, you have to let that sink in.
Yeah. It's a silly idea. It's expensive. Because along with the cost of the land and, lumber has become way more expensive. Building materials in general have become more expensive. I mean, they're still saving on the free labor stuff, but I think that they still have to use some sort of outside contractor for certain things, so that's not free. They still have that expense to deal with. It's not cheap. And so how do they pay for this stuff? Well, they try and squeeze another coin out of the rank and file Jehovah's Witness, who is making a third of what the average person is making who isn't a Jehovah's Witness. Now, I don't know that translates into every country and every group. Probably not. There's probably some variation in that. But let's just say, for the sake of easy math, that Jehovah's Witnesses everywhere are making about a third of what non-Jehovah's Witnesses are making. They don't have the money. It was a bad plan to say, you shouldn't go to school, you shouldn't get an education because the end is coming. Because now their bankroll, which is donations, is drying up. People don't have it. I mean, what are you going to do? You'd be like, well, I'll just trust in Jehovah. Oops, I don't have a place to live. I'm going to live under a bridge now. No, you're going to pay your rent. Right? Like, I know there's stories of, like, we didn't have any money, and then suddenly the exact amount we needed to be able to pay this bill so they didn't kick us out just showed up. Okay. Maybe that happens occasionally, but I wouldn't bank on that if you're, going to be put on the street because you're contributing to the society. I wouldn't count on Jehovah saving you in this case. You're probably going to end up on the street. And that's not a good place to be right now, because rent and mortgages, cost of housing is also through the roof. It's crazy expensive. Just to give you an example, in the area that I live in, housing has become so expensive that when we purchased our house 5 years ago, I'm not going to give numbers, but I'm just going to give you percentages. The cost of our home we could probably sell it for 3 times as much as what we originally purchased it for. That sounds great. You're like, woohoo, my house is worth a lot. But then if I sell my house, I got to turn around and purchase a house someplace else, and it's also 3 or 4 times more expensive. So I need to stick with what I got, because if I didn't have my house, I probably have to rent, and then I'm still paying out a ton of money and not having anything to show for it. So anyway, that's just economics. So yeah, it was a bad plan on the part of Jehovah's Witnesses, of the governing body, to discourage education. I think they maybe have tweaked that a little bit, because it used to be, don't get any sort of education, just go get a job. And I think something, in the back of my head tells me that they changed it to be, okay, if you need to get some classes, we understand, because again, a lot of people are surviving because they work overtime, because they work, in my case, I work a ridiculously long Sunday. Obviously, if I was still an active Jehovah's Witness, there's no way that I could do that, because I got to be at the meeting and go out in service. So I wouldn't have the option to work the extra hours necessary to support a large family and a home and stuff. So if you're going to the meeting and you're studying and you're going out in service, and if you're a pioneer, you do not have the option to work extra hours. You can't pick up a shift. You can't get more clients if you're self-employed. It's just not an option for you. Because, not showing up to the meeting is not an option for you. You have to go. It's a requirement. You are stuck. So I guess this whole little video here is about how hard up the society is to get money from the people who don't have any. So expect more of these talks, because all they've got really is to try and guilt you into giving more money. Money that you probably don't have. I guess my advice, if I'm going to have any sort of advice for this presentation I'm doing here, is take care of your family. Don't let them convince you to put you in such a bad way that you can't feed your kids, that you have to go without. That you have to go to the food bank. I mean, that's an option for somebody, and it's been, it's a great thing for people, but don't put yourself in a position where you have to do that because you're giving your money to Tony Morris and Stephen Lett and the rest of the gang. They don't need it. They could very easily stop making their movie production thing, sell that land, recoup some of their costs. They got plenty of Kingdom Halls they can sell too. So that's going to happen. They could probably save something by changing the rules and making sure that people aren't victimized in the congregations. Then they wouldn't have to pay out money to victims, because there wouldn't be any, right? Or there'd be much less anyway, because, human nature and all. There's going to be some scumbags that are in the congregations, unfortunately. But you're the leadership governing body. Lead. You're taking the lead, as you say. So take the lead in preventing people from getting taken advantage of and getting hurt. That's my advice. I guess that's all I got to say on this. I've still got some work to do, and I need to do it before the client comes in. So I'm going to finish up my break and get back to work. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I love talking to y'all. Makes my day when I see the videos get some sort of comments, and even if sometimes it's from people who just want to put up a stink because
you apostates.
Yeah, fun times. But I do appreciate the comments that are supportive, and if you could please like and share and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Please recommend me to others. I'd appreciate that. If there's a particular video that has resonated with you, maybe the one on 607 that I did recently, or kids being indoctrinated, that sort of thing, please share it with somebody you think might enjoy it or benefit from it. That helps. I got to feed the algorithm and get things going here, because I would like to have a wider audience, more people to talk to and interact with. I'd like to do more lives than that, but it's a little discouraging if I start a live and like 2 people show up. So I'd like to be able to have, at least a dozen I could talk to and interact with, that sort of thing. But it's not really going to happen if I don't gain traction here on YouTube. So please do what you can to help me if you like my stuff. If you want to, throw me a couple bucks just to help out, I like that too. But if you don't, you know what? Take care of yourself, because things are expensive right now. That's all I got. So I will talk to you next time. Hope you're having an awesome day. And I'll catch you next week. Bye now.
Is this toy magical?
Mm-hmm.
Caleb, who likes magic? Jehovah or Satan?
Satan.
Right. Magic is bad. That's why Jehovah hates it. Do you really want to play with something that Jehovah hates? Do you remember who we learned about at family worship? Who is this?
Adam and Eve.
Right. Did they obey Jehovah?
No, they disobeyed Jehovah, and he got very sad.
So what if you disobey Jehovah and play with toys he doesn't like? Do you think Jehovah will be happy or sad?
Sad.
It's just a doll. It's just a stupid little plastic doll.
I got it! He made it! He got two! He got two! Get the mailman! Get him!
You remember the days when you didn't have to take out a small loan to go out to dinner, where it didn't cost you a ton of money just to pick up a few things at the grocery store? Everything right now is probably easily 10 to 20% more than it was a year ago, even 2 years ago. It's just gotten outrageous. It's a fact of life that, inflation happens. It's just, can't get away from it. It's been happening since money was a thing. But it's hard right now. It's hard to maintain what you have when your income level is going down, 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 and the expenses are going up, up, up. So having to give a certain amount to a religious organization just doesn't seem like a great idea. I feel for the Mormons who had to give 10% and would actually be checked on that, because that's real tough to have somebody basically chasing you down to make sure that you've given a certain percentage of your annual income to them. That's why, as far as I know, the Mormon Church, the LDS, they have way more money than the Jehovah's Witnesses do. But that's not to say that the Jehovah's Witnesses is that's not to say that the governing body is broke. They definitely have some money.